Imagine getting everything you ever wanted, like bestseller status, rave reviews, even a movie deal. But then you realize it's all built on, well, stolen words, and this whole web of lies you spun yourself. What happens when it all starts coming apart? When the ghost, maybe literally, of the person you stole from comes back. So in this deep dive, we're really jumping into this captivating first-person story. It's an author's account, raw, incredibly biased, you could say, about ambition, yeah, betrayal, and just the crazy reality of publishing. Our mission today isn't just to lay out the facts, but to really unpack the psychology, the ethics of it all. Authorship, plagiarism, cultural appropriation, we're seeing it through her eyes. Why do these lines get so blurry? Especially when, fame and legacy are involved. We promise some pretty insightful stuff, maybe a few surprises, and hopefully keep you hooked. It's quite a ride.
Yeah, what's really fascinating here is how it lets us dive deep into the mind of this writer. She's dealing with this really intense jealousy. We get to see how she justifies things to herself, how she builds this public image step by step, and then the fallout. It's almost inevitable, right, when the secrets start bubbling up. It's like a masterclass in self-deception, really.
Okay, let's get into it. First up, our narrator, June Hayward, and then there's Athena Liu, her sort of peer, rival. They met at Yale writing classes together. June says the friendship was only skin deep, but they were always kind of orbiting each other. And June's jealousy. Wow, it's there right from page 1, basically.
Oh, absolutely. It's not subtle. She says flat out she wishes Athena were dead, that the bitch in me wants her to fail. It's not just a passing thought, It feels really, really ingrained. And Athena, oh, she was everything. June wasn't, in June's eyes at least. Yale-educated, ambiguously queer woman of color landed this big fellowship, a Netflix deal. She even met the guy who produced Tiger King. I mean, come on. June felt totally left behind. She's from Philly, feels overshadowed, thinks, no matter how hard I work, I'll never be Athena Liu. It wasn't just talent envy. It felt like envy of this whole package, this perceived insider track.
Right, the jealousy is almost overwhelming. But June also paints Athena as maybe putting on an act, like performing vulnerability. She calls it an act, says there's something desperate about it, and she doesn't know if Athena's manipulative or maybe genuinely fragile. How much can we really trust June's take here, given how biased she clearly is? Was Athena playing a game, or is June just seeing what she wants to see?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We're totally inside June's head, and her head is full of insecurity and, well, resentment. So yeah, she's likely projecting a lot onto Athena, seeing manipulation where maybe it's just, I don't know, awkwardness or genuine emotion. It really makes you, the listener, think, right, how much do our own feelings color how we see other people? June's story just throws these literary world pressures into sharp relief. Success feels so random sometimes, based on things that have nothing to do with the strength of one's prose.
And sometimes those pressures lead to, well, unexpected turns. Like this one night at Athena's apartment, everything changes. Athena's celebrating finishing her secret project. It's called The Last Front, this historical novel about the Chinese Labor Corps in World War I. June's there. She's pretty drunk, gets a look at the manuscript, and she's just floored.
Yeah, the source says June reads some of it and thinks, holy God, they're good, like mind-blowingly good. Better than anything I could write, perhaps in this lifetime. A masterpiece. You get the sense of awe. But then, bam, tragedy. Athena chokes. On a pandan pancake, of all things. June tries the Heimlich, apparently, but it doesn't work. Later, she's obsessively watching YouTube tutorials, thinking, I could have saved her. That guilt, or maybe just the thought, haunts her.
And in the middle of all that chaos, June's first thought is fear. She's weirdly terrified that they're about to arrest me for murder, even though she knows Athena choked. Then she gives the EMTs Athena's address from memory. 907, Madison. That's such a weirdly clear moment in the panic.
Yeah.
But what's really striking is how fast the grief seems to fade and something else takes over. It's like terror then. Oh, what opportunity. That's a quick shift.
It really is. And this is where that idea of moral rationalization just kicks right in. The grief seems almost instantly replaced by this odd shock, but also this incredibly practical, almost cold internal voice. Athena's manuscript isn't stolen property in her mind. It's a hot sack of coals, an opportunity. Her whole moral compass just flips. She starts thinking, we owe nothing to the dead. And she actually convinces herself that taking it feels like reparations, like payback for Athena supposedly taking things from her. It's amazing how quickly we can build these internal arguments to justify, well, pretty much anything we want to do. It happens almost before the act itself.
Okay, so the justification is locked in. Athena's gone. The manuscript's in her bag. June sees her opening. She starts editing The Last Front. And she truly believes she's improving it, rescuing it from a shoddy first draft state. She even feels like it was divinely ordained.
Mm-hmm.
Something.
It really is something. And her editing choices are super revealing about publishing, you know? She deliberately simplifies Athena's prose, which she found frustrating and inaccessible. Gets rid of untranslated Chinese complex family terms. June wants it commercial and compulsively readable, very different from Athena's quirky, aloof, and erudite style. She even changes like a dozen character names because she thinks it's too confusing. She's sharpening gems, she thinks. She doesn't see herself as stealing, but as making the real potential of the work accessible. And that just perfectly captures that tension, right? Art versus commerce, how the market can kind of smooth out the edges of diverse voices to make them, well, easier to sell.
She's completely bought into her own narrative as the rescuer. So she's got this manuscript, polished it up. How does she actually sell it, get it out there? Her agent, Brett Adams, this dude Broy guy, he helps, right?
Brett's key. He knows the game. He gets the last front onto what he calls a reach list, like for college, you know? Starts a bidding war. Lands her this massive 7-figure deal with Eden Press, this indie place with a good reputation. But June's not just selling the book, she's selling herself. She crafts this whole persona, the grieving friend. Suddenly, those quarterly drinks become monthly, sometimes weekly. Uses old selfies for a touching tribute poem. She sets up an Athena Liu scholarship. Even chooses author photos where she looks kind of racially ambiguous. It's deliberate myth-making. And interestingly, the source points out it kind of mirrors Athena's own persona building, Athena.0 and Athena.1 it calls them, all construct.
That's fascinating. So June's own myth-making, faking the friendship, even tweaking her perceived ethnicity. It's almost like she learned from Athena. What does that tell us about publishing today? Is authenticity just another thing you perform?
It really suggests authenticity itself is, well, a brand, something you construct and sell. Authors aren't just selling words anymore, they're selling a whole story about themselves. June isn't just stealing a manuscript, she's hijacking Athena's narrative, both the books and the public one about their friendship. It's this, like you said, masterclass in narrative control, not just writing fiction, but shaping how everyone sees her in a world that loves a good story, maybe more than the truth.
And, wow, did it work? At first, anyway. The lunch to the last front is huge. Champagne, tweets, a big event at Politics and Prose, which, ironically, is where Athena launched her first book. It hits number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list almost immediately. June's thinking, this is everything I've ever wanted. Pure bliss.
But yeah, the cracks start showing pretty early on. There's this incident with a former editorial assistant, Candice Lee. The source calls it a sensitivity read kerfuffle. Candice insists June, who isn't Chinese American, absolutely needs a sensitivity reader who knows the history, the language. Then Candice accuses Brett, the agent, of a racist microaggression because he assumed she was Chinese American. She's actually Korean American. Candice gets taken off the project. But this whole thing, it's like a preview of the bigger storm coming about, who gets to tell whose stories. Sensitivity readers came about for exactly this reason, to check for authenticity, avoid harm when writers step outside their own experience. Candice's reaction shows these aren't just edits. They're serious ethical points for a lot of people.
And the discomfort gets more personal for June, doesn't it? Later, she gets invited to speak at the Chinese American Social Club of Rockville. The organizer assumes June is Chinese. June feels weird about it, defensive even. But then this elderly member, Mr. James Lee, comes up. His uncle was actually in the Chinese Labor Corps. And he thanks June, tears in his eyes, for telling his family story. Oof. Does that hit home for her?
Oh, definitely. That seems to be a real turning point internally. It brings the whole ethical debate into sharp focus. June feels this deep wash of shame. She knows, this isn't my history, my heritage. I am an outsider basking in their love under false pretenses. Suddenly, cultural appropriation isn't just some academic term or Twitter fight. It's this man's gratitude, built on a lie. It really makes you ask, what's the real human cost when you take someone else's story?
So things are starting to unravel inside her head. She even has her first vision of Athena at the book launch, sees her flesh and blood standing there, tries to brush it off his nerves. But while her inner world is shaky, the outside world, especially online, is about to bring the hammer down.
Yeah, the internet doesn't play. June starts getting slammed online, accusations of racism, yellow fever, getting the history wrong, and she gets obsessed. Can't stop reading the comments, keep digging just to see how far the rot goes. It's like picking a scab, and then it gets really specific and kind of creepy.
Right. This anonymous Twitter account pops up, @AthenaliusGhost. It directly accuses June of stealing the book, even says June used to snoop through Athena's notebooks. Her agent, Brett, just blows it off. It's a troll, he says. Never hurt sales.
Yeah.
Typical agent response, maybe. But it feels way more pointed than just trolling.
It absolutely is. And we find out later, this wasn't random trolling at all. It was Candice Lee, the fired assistant editor. She orchestrated this whole thing. A careful, calculated digital campaign to expose June, seeding doubts, dropping hints. It shows how online reputation can be, like, weaponized now. It's a whole new kind of literary feud.
The irony is just layers upon layers. While June's getting canceled, Athena herself gets hit with posthumous cancellation. Another anonymous account, at No Heroes, No Gods, calls her a champagne socialist, a race traitor for things she wrote.
And June's reaction? Pretty cynical. She had it coming for her.
Wow.
It shows how quickly these online tides turn, right? And how blurred the lines get. June even confronts Athena's ex, Jeff Carlino. She thinks he's the ghost tweeter. But Jeff tells her Athena used his personal stuff, his arguments in her stories, too. Suddenly, June feels this weird connection to Jeff, this strange kinship. It's a really smart twist in the narrative. It doesn't excuse June at all, but it shows maybe Athena wasn't entirely innocent either, in terms of using people's lives for material. It makes the whole ethical picture way more complicated. Even the quote-unquote victim might have her own issues.
So the moral landscape is just getting murkier and murkier. And meanwhile, June feels haunted, but not by a real ghost. It's Athena as this inner editor messing with her head, making writing impossible. And then the bombshell. June finally admits that one of Athena's most famous stories, Whispers Along the Yalu, was based on June's own traumatic experience from college. Athena stole from her first.
That deepens the sense of betrayal, right?
Completely. It fuels June's sense of grievance even as her own world is collapsing. And the public attacks get bolder. No more anonymous stuff. At a panel, another author, Diana Q, just calls her out, accuses her right there of stealing words from a dead woman. Everyone's recording on their phones. Total public humiliation.
Ouch. And then the book sales start to dip. The ride is ending. Her publisher, Eden, gets practical, tells her to write something new, but specifically not about a Chinese girl.
You could just see the publisher trying to quietly back away from the controversy, protect the brand. Yeah, damage control. And June's totally isolated now. Her writer friends, the Eden's Angels, ghost her. Her mentee drops her. Her own mother suggests she just become an accountant, which taps right into June's biggest fear. Being unknown, being forgotten.
That fear seems to drive everything, and it pushes her to the edge. She sees an Instagram post from Athenalia's ghost, feels cornered, and just snaps. She yells out into the dark, basically confessing. And who appears? Candice Lee. Candice admits it all. She was the ghost. Revenge for getting fired over, apparently, a Goodreads rating she gave Athena's book way back. It was all meticulously planned.
And then it gets physical. June attacks Candice. There's this moment of pure rage, fueled by, the source says, racist assumptions June has about Asian women being tiny. She even has this terrifying thought about maybe killing Candice, thinking she could get away with it. It's dark. But instead, Candice kicks her down the stairs. June ends up with a broken clavicle, broken ankle.
And the narrative flips again. Candice immediately sells her story. A tell-all memoir about the whole thing, gets a 7-figure deal with Penguin Random House. Even June's old publisher, Eden, expresses interest in buying Candice's book now. Talk about adding insult to injury. June's lying there, broken, abandoned, and she has this realization. The truth is fluid. There is always another way to spin the story. So what does she decide to do? Write her version, cast herself as the victim, Athena as the real manipulator, the leech, and Candice as some deranged wannabe. She's going for her own redemption arc, told her way. The fight over the story just keeps going.
Wow. June Hayward's story is just this spiral down into the really gray, messy parts of authorship, where fame seems to justify anything, where writing itself becomes a weapon. We've seen how jealousy can just eat away at someone, how carefully people build stories about themselves, not just in books, but in public life, and how that fight for recognition can lead to, well, total self-deception and destruction.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway, I think, is that relentless power of narrative control. June, even after everything, her immediate instinct is to grab the pen and write a new story, one where she comes out on top. She literally asks, what more can we want as writers than such immortality? Don't ghosts just want to be remembered? It's chilling, almost. Her final move is taking another Instagram selfie, getting ready to write again, blocking out the negativity. It really highlights that elasticity of self-justification, how we can bend logic to make ourselves feel okay about almost anything, especially when ambition's involved. And it shows the dual nature of that public persona, too. It can bring you success, but boy, does it make you vulnerable when the cracks appear.
So what does this all mean for you listening? In a world awash with stories bought, sold, spun, weaponized online, where do we draw lines? Inspiration versus appropriation. Who really owns a story, especially when it involves culture, history, trauma? You're taking all the content out there, maybe just remember to ask, who's telling this story? What might their angle be? Because sometimes the most powerful stories, the most convincing ones, are the ones we tell ourselves, even when, maybe especially when, they stretch the truth.